Okay, so let's look at some of the other evolutionary relationships that also affect the progress of our natural selection. Okay, so we already talked about contingency, right? And remember, this is the situation where even given the strongest natural selection pressures, the organisms are not striving towards perfection. So we thought about birds' beaks, which is the example we've been using all along, in this idea that you couldn't have a bird with the largest beak ever, even though it could crack any nut and get into any food. It would be too heavy for the bird to carry around. It would just be dragging its face along, right? The other major thing that also affects natural selection or interplays with it is called contingency. And this is this idea that you can be in the wrong place at the wrong time. So you can be a really fit individual, but if we think about our most famous example, right, if you're a dinosaur and climate has a bad turn for you, or if you're on an island and a volcano erupts, well, it stinks to be you, okay, because you're still going to die, even though you can outrun things or forage for food really effectively or make the best nest, right? You're still going to die. And it has nothing to do with how fit you are as an individual or as a population. You're just literally in the wrong place at the wrong time. And remember that if we think about the effects of these things, right? And so history here matters. When the dinosaurs were wiped out, this had a huge effect on future evolution, okay? By wiping out all the dinosaurs, this really opened up the capacity for mammals to be able to step into the light. Okay, stop being teeny little mouse-sized things. Okay, now all these niches were open that these mammals could take advantage of, now that the dinosaurs weren't dominating them, and become the wide variety of organisms that we see today. Oop, I should clear that. Excuse me. Okay, now that we have a really good understanding for evolution in all of its forms, as well as the things that interplay with evolution, let's go ahead and take a look at what exactly are these relationships between organisms. So, given these types of trees that we've seen before, how do we figure out how exactly organisms are related and how closely related they are? Okay, so how can we look at this puzzle and actually get meaningful information out of them? Okay, so there are a couple of key features that we can tell just at a first glance. The first of which is, as we look at the total length, no matter what direction we're facing, is that this overall distance, or even the distance of any given line, is meaningless, unless it actually says somewhere that 1 inch is 4,000 years or some business like that. Okay, for the most part, the size and shape of these things is dictated by whatever the publisher says you get. Right, so they're stretched and smushed to fit the page of your textbook or the page of the journal. So we know that as we look at these things, that time is passing, and it's passing unidirectionally, right? So this is older, and this is newer, so we're progressing, okay? But the fact that this is this length doesn't mean that 200 million years has necessarily passed, right? Okay, so that's the first piece of information I have. Secondly, the top thing, or the furthest thing out is what we call an outgroup. Okay, the outgroup is usually the thing that we've started with when we go to build these things. Okay, so we usually know something about this organism or population or species or whatever it is. Nowadays, we usually know this through DNA, which has given us all sorts of information that we now have, but it could be through traits or something, which is what you guys will do for your odd frog exercise. Keep erasing, please. Okay, so given the fact that I just told you that the lengths of these bars means nothing, right? They're shrunk to make something fit. How can I tell then within my tree here what individuals are closely related and which ones aren't? Okay, so given this relationship here, okay, if I give you the choice of the purple boxes or the red boxes, which of these two are more closely related and why? Okay, so take a second to think about this and pause the video if you need to. Okay, so if you answered the purple boxes, you'd be correct, right? And it's because not of total distance, right, but because that they are closer together based on these branching points, right? So we have less branching points between our purple boxes, our pig-like creatures, than we do our red boxes, where we have many branching points. Okay, so we had more events in time between our red boxes than our purple ones. Okay, so we know points in time have occurred, and that's something that we can count, and that is denoting time passing, right? Okay, so what does that mean? So those branches, please switch. Okay, those branches are called nodes, okay, which are moments in time when an evolution event, right, has occurred. Okay, so we've had speciation occur. Okay, so in this case, we had a sunfish occur. In between each speciation event, there needs to be something that has triggered a speciation event, right? What makes these guys different from each other? Okay, so the things that make these different, okay, the term for that is called a synapomorphy, one of those obnoxiously fancy sounding words. But we can break it down into its parts. The front half, synap, okay, means same or synonymous. Okay, and we say that because for a synapomorphy, okay, everything that proceeds forward in time from this point, okay, should have this same thing. Okay, so forward is yes, backwards is no, for having whatever trait this is. Okay, morphy, of course, being more for trait, so same trait going forward. So let's do an example that we're all a little more familiar with. So if I have my eutheria here, remember eutheria are true mammals, that's like you or me or a cat, okay? And this is my metatheria. Okay, remember metatheria are my pouch mammals. Okay, these are going to be like kangaroos and wombats and koalas. Okay, something that's going to create a distinction or a synapomorphy here might be a placenta. Okay, that's something all eutheria have, but metatheria, right, prototheria, all those guys do not, right? Okay, so everything forward from here has that synapomorphy. Okay, everything backward from here does not. Okay, this, for example, might be something like nipples. Okay, which we know that our metatheriids and eutheriids have, but protheriids do not. All right. So let's look at another example. Okay, if we apply this to the tree we've been looking at, all right, if I'm looking at this branching point, okay, we have this dog-like thing in red, okay, as one half of the branch, and all of these other organisms on the other part. Okay, so if I were to put a synapomorphy here, I might say fused toes is a good synapomorphy. Okay, going back this way, okay, nobody has fused toes, right? My dog-looking thing probably has regular, like, paw things. That's what that looks like to me. Okay, but going this way, everybody has that, right? Most of these guys have hooves of some nature, okay? Looking at these guys, okay, hooves are fused toes, and certainly when we get down to these whales, right, these take fused toes to an extreme sport. Okay, so this is a good synapomorphy that's going to make a branched difference for this event. Okay, oops, so let's try some practice exercises. If I'm looking at this, the world's tiniest tree, okay, but it's just a cut from the previous one, so you can always look back at the example we just had. How many nodes are on this tree? Okay, go ahead and pause if you need to. And we have two, right? One here and one here. Okay, so we have two nodes, our points of branching. All right, let's try one more before we're done. Okay. Hey, that did not actually flip at all. Okay, so let's pretend the question says, given the red line, what would a good synapomorphy be? Okay, again, pause if you need to. Right, in this case, we don't have a lot of information, so there's a lot of right answers. We could say flippers, okay, or fins, or an aquatic lifestyle, right? Anything that's talking about its body shape or its behaviors in this case, that's clearly gonna distinguish it from the other organisms that were given are good choices for synapomorphies.